So, hello everyone. My name's Kieran. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the first edition of the Newport County. I'm going to call it Vidcast because it's not a podcast, it's not available on audio, so that's the name of it now. But it's the first one of the 24-25 season, and it's not a League Two game. It's an FA Cup game, first round. Who doesn't love the FA Cup? Rodney Parade, Saturday, 3 p.m. Everyone's favourite time for a game. Peterborough at home. I'm delighted to be joined by Charlie today, of course, a Peterborough fan, just to get to know our opposition a little bit more. So, first of all, mate, thank you for coming on. How's your day been?
It's been good, thank you. It's been good. Busy Halloween.
Yeah, I've realised that we're recording this on Halloween, which maybe wasn't the smartest idea, but here we are. About a million trick-or-treaters to and from. Thankfully, it's all quieted down now. But I'll get starting just about Peterborough and how their league's going so far this season. So, 13th in League One, sitting on 18 points after 14 games played. But the thing that I've noticed, 25 goals scored, 26 conceded. Is it a scenario, because you've of course had a reputation while being in this division of always challenging for playoffs, promotion, etc. Is it just a slow start? Is this a thing that you expected? Because like I mentioned, it seems you're really good at scoring, one of the highest scorers in the division, but it's difficult by the looks of things to keep the ball out the other end.
Yeah, it's been tough. I mean, I think we've been absolutely troubled by injuries throughout the entire start of the season. We've been missing our captain. He's only played, less than half our games. He was injured, then came back, then got injured again. And some of our best players have been out since pretty much the beginning of the season, which has been very, very difficult. But we just haven't reached the levels that we have previously in this division. We are a team that will always challenge towards the top end of the table. I think even now there's still ambition to be, in and around the playoffs at the end of this season. And we're scoring plenty of goals. But yeah, at the back, we're fragile. We have a lot of players that haven't played at this level before, lots of players that haven't played at any senior level before as well. We've sort of got a very makeshift back four. I think we've fielded, 9 back fours in our 14 first league games, which is never a good thing. So yeah, struggling to find consistency at the back in terms of selection. And that's made it very, very difficult to keep the ball out of our net, as you sort of mentioned.
Yeah, it was the thing that I noticed, and it was the thing that I talked about briefly earlier, because you mentioning, of course, players inexperienced, players that have barely played. Is it in terms of the summer window, of course, that has come and gone? Was there a lot of change that you potentially didn't expect going into this season, of course?
I mean, there was a lot of change. I don't know whether saying we didn't expect it is fair, because we were told very clearly by our owners that there were certain players that we would be selling this summer. We had a lot of debt coming out of the back of COVID, as most clubs did, and we had to sort of balance the books. And the talent that we had last season, quite frankly, was too good for the level. And is now playing consistently. Sheffield United, for example. And there's some that have gone to Premier League clubs, and others are really settled at Championship clubs. So we always knew it was going to happen. We've done it before. We are a selling club at the end of the day, as most clubs down at our level are. We make a lot of money off transfer sales, and it's just we haven't quite recruited the caliber of player this summer that we would have liked. I think it's down to a lack of quality across the English divisions in terms of assets that we can buy. There's not been a lot available for us, so we struggled to find ample replacements in some positions. We've tried to recruit from within as well, trying to promote academy players into senior roles, and that's always a little bit rocky. So yeah, we just haven't quite managed to fill the gaps. We knew there would be gaps emerging in the summer, and we just haven't quite managed to get the players in to replace those that have left.
Yeah, I looked at it. I looked at some of the additions, and you mentioned, of course, some of them have never played in the EFL, or they've got very limited experience. It almost feels, I don't think saying a transition season is fair necessarily, because I think you've still got that quality, like you mentioned. You've still got that ambition to push within League One towards the playoffs, etc. So I wouldn't say transition's fair, but I definitely say different to the usual, I suppose, recruitment and the usual squad that Peterborough have. But going on to, actually playing the game, are there certain patterns or certain play styles you've noticed Peterborough play when you've been watching them so far this season?
I mean, it's just going to be the speed of the attack. We have very, very quick players in all four of the attacking positions, and they are going to try and isolate, fullbacks, left and right-sided centre backs, depending on what formation you opt for. They're going to try and isolate 1v1 and beat them. We play very fluid in the way that we attack. Players dropping into different positions. And yeah, it's going to be a lot about moments of individual quality, players beating a man and then getting it inside and getting good deliveries into the box. We're not a team that cross the ball because we haven't got that big physical number 9. We've got almost like a very pacey winger playing up front. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of direct, fast attacking play. A lot of times where if you leave anybody open on the counter attack, especially, we're going to punish you. We beat Blackpool 5-1 the other week, and pretty much every goal was just countering off their corners, their attacks, because we've got the pace to pick teams off when they overcommit.
Yeah, definitely. That brings me a little bit of fear, because sometimes we're known to, in this season especially, potentially overcommit players if we're struggling to maintain, I suppose, momentum within the game. But in terms of the individuals, are there certain ones that you think we should look out for going into this game?
I'd look at, any of the front four attacking players really on their day can be, some of the best in League One, so let alone in League Two. But probably look at Kwame Poku as the number one sort of threat. He's our right winger. He has something like, I think, 7 league goals this season and 4 assists. He's absolutely racking them up. There's been very few teams in our division that have managed to shut him out. Yeah, on his day, he's the best winger in League One, I'd go as far to say. He had a lot of championship interest in the summer, big bids from clubs like Luton that we turned down. And I'm sure they'll be back for him in January and next summer as well. But yeah, we still got him for now. And he is one of the best players in League One on his day. He's absolutely unbelievable.
I had a feeling you were going to mention him. I looked at kind of your squad, and just you can't judge everything off his stats, but his stats, like you mentioned, are very impressive for the start of the season. But I'm going to drift slightly away from the game, because I've never really had a chance to speak to anyone about this. Of course, what we've been usually used to in these FA Cup first rounds, second rounds, whatever you want to call them, the replays. Yeah, that if it was a draw at full time, you'd go to a replay at the opposition ground. However, it's now changed to where no matter what happens, it could be the most dull 0-0 on the planet. Somebody's going to go through. And I've seen so many opinions that I agree with in terms of scrapping. It's unfair on kind of these lower division clubs, because a lot of people get a lot of memories from it. It benefits clubs a lot. And I just wonder, what's your kind of opinion on the fact that, of course, there's going to be someone through and someone knocked out, no matter what the result is on Saturday?
Yeah, it's an interesting one on replays. We're a team that have been subjected to 2 in our last 2 years in the cup. Both were against Salford, where we had to go up there on a Tuesday night. And so in that respect, I'm quite glad that there's not a prospect of having to do that again. But I can understand the flip side argument of it, which is that there are small non-league clubs. You look at a team like Horsham that last season went to Barnsley and managed to get a draw there, and so brought them back to their place, and vice versa. They were a really good opportunity for players that they knew that if they put their heart and soul into a game and put in their best performance, they might be able to play at Old Trafford or play at Anfield if they got a home draw against one of the big boys. So I can see why clubs are annoyed about it. I can see why it's happened. I think, at the end of the day, we've not benefited from any massive replays really in recent years. They've acted more as a hindrance than a help. But by that same token, I will never accept a Premier League footballer on £250,000 a week saying they're tired because they've played 3 games in a week. Grow up and get on with it is the way I think me and most other EFL fans look at it. So I'll accept it because it is what it is, and we've not really been the beneficiary. So from a purely selfish perspective, I'll accept it. But I think it's a pretty pathetic argument from the Premier League. And if there wasn't such a lot of money coming into our back pockets because of it, I don't think that the EFL clubs would be accepting it quite as much as they have.
Yeah, I think most people kind of stand on that same page when it especially comes to, like you mentioned, that the top division clubs saying, "Oh, there's too many football games." You mentioned in the bit that was cut out that you played more competitive league games last season than any other club in the EFL, and I cannot recall a Peterborough player saying we're playing too many games. It's almost your job. I understand that you want to put on your best performance, you want to show your best every week, and to do that, you need to be fully fit and whatnot. But at the same time, you should really have a squad that is capable enough to switch and rotate, and that's not the luxury that EFL clubs have, but those Premier League clubs really should. So yeah, I think like you mentioned, most EFL fans are in the same boat. I feel like even though we've only been going 15 or so minutes, I feel like there's not too many more questions in terms of going to it. But one of them is, you of course mentioned you've not had too much, I suppose, success and glamorous ties in the FA Cup, but do you still see this competition as, really important, an opportunity like so many clubs see to potentially play one of the big clubs and have a massive revenue stream into the club? Or would you rather potentially not focus on this as much and focus on getting back on track in the league?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's not a single cup competition that I value more than the league. So if I had to sacrifice, losing at yours on Saturday to beat Cambridge at home the next week in our derby, then I'm taking it every single day of the week. But it is a good competition. It's a very historic competition. It's a proper English football competition. I said we haven't had good replays, but we've played, both Leeds and Man City in the last 2 out of the last 3 seasons, games that wouldn't have happened in the league. So it is a good competition. We definitely will back ourselves to beat you. With the greatest respect, it will be an absolute meltdown if we lose at your place on Saturday. You'd expect us to show up with pretty much a full strength team, and you guys are 15th in League Two. We if we can't beat a side that's 15th in the division below us, then God help us. But yeah, I think we will be looking to win. We'll play a strong team. We'll be furious if we go out. We always try and target that third round, see if we can get a big draw, because it is a big revenue stream. And we do love our cup competitions. We won the Bristol Street Motors last season at Wembley. So we know what it feels like to have a great cup run. And so, yeah, I think we will be looking to win. We'll be looking to get as far in the competition as possible. But if push comes to shove and we do have to sacrifice it for the league, then we'll make that decision every day.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like most fans will kind of reciprocate that. But yeah, it's one of the things where, like you mentioned, of course, I don't think the table overly reflects, maybe other than the defensive record, I don't think it really reflects the squad you've got. But it'll be very interesting to, I suppose, see how it develops, because we've beaten massive sides at home. We beat Leicester when I think that was 4 or 5 seasons after they won the Premier League. So I think if this was away, I'd be a lot more skeptical and a lot more, worried. But when we're at home, even in the league, it proves to be a massive difference, a massive game changer, if you will. But yeah, I suppose the final one, and it's everyone's favorite question, the one that I hate doing because I always get them wrong. If you were to say a score prediction between these two teams, what would you go for?
It's a tough one. I'm trying to actually remember what I went for in our podcast. I think we'll win. I think it will be, relatively comfortable. And that's not me coming from a position of being big-headed or anything. I understand the threat that Newport carry. I understand, the physicality you've got in the team, and the pure height you've got up front if you play Kyle Hudlin. I'm not underestimating that risk. And I think we will concede, but no, I'll back our attacking players to have, a League Two back four on toast. So yeah, I'll go 3-1.
I understand that prediction in the way that like you mentioned, you're a League One team. You've got a good squad. You go into a League Two side. On paper, that should be a win. That should be how it goes. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But at the same time, I think I'm basing this game off of the attacking qualities that both sides possess, and I just feel like it's going to be a game of which front set of players show up on the day, and also because we're such in terms of positions, goals scored, goals conceded, we're near enough neck and neck. Obviously, it's a division apart and whatnot, but it's very similar. I'm going to go for a 3-3 draw, and then we win on penalties. That's what I'm going for. That's what I'm going for.
I applaud the bravery of the prediction. That is a very, very brave prediction.
It's a bold one, but I'm basing it off of the fact that both teams are really good offensively on paper, but defensively, can struggle, and they definitely have those issues that can be exploited. Like you mentioned, you're really good at getting teams on the break. We're quite good at, like you mentioned, with 6'9" Carl Hudlin. He's his own threat on his own. I kind of don't need to describe the threat he provides, but I'm going to go for a very, like I mentioned, very high scoring game, 3-3. One of the teams win on penalties, but I'm not going to not back my own team to do it. But that being said, I feel like that's about all I can say when it comes to this game. So unless you have anything else to kind of add on, we can wrap it up there.
I don't think so. I'll just say I know a lot of Posh fans are looking forward to making the trip. It's our first competitive meeting there since some random Tuesday night where we played you in the Papa John's Trophy. So it'll be a ground tick for a lot of Peterborough fans on Saturday. We'll hope to see you there, and hope it'll be a good, entertaining game. And best of luck for the rest of the season afterwards.
Of course, yeah. I think, if I'm not mistaken, haven't you sold out your initial crowd of tickets, which, if I'm not mistaken, is around 700, with the option of more? I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that you've sold that initial allocation out, or at least gotten very close to.
I'm not sure what the actual numbers are, but I know, we were given a bit on the side and a bit behind the goal side, so we'll see how it goes, but yeah, it won't be a massive crowd. We're not going to be selling anything out, but it will be a decent crowd that will travel. And then obviously we've got our big derby game next Saturday against Cambridge, which will increase the crowd as well, I think.
Yeah, it's a good kind of, it's almost a good run of games for you, isn't it? You've got this FA Cup game that you've got that's on paper favourable. Of course, I'm not going to say that, because what football fan would I be with my own club if I was to say that? But then you've got that game, like you mentioned, Cambridge, starting off, we'll say awfully, with a lack of a better word, in League One. I think it's a good opportunity for you to get back on track. I think it is a good opportunity. But that being said, I think we are going to get towards wrapping it up. And of course, you had that little side promotion, but I'll give you a little bit of segment before we end up, just to promote anything you fancy. Twitter, other podcasts, whatever you want to. I'll chuck them all in the description.
Yeah, so we're up the Posh. I'm at Chas McPosh on Twitter. Please give me a follow. I'm sure you'll see me tweeting lots during the follow to Up the Poshcast as well. On all social media platforms. And then all your podcasting platforms as well. On our latest episode, if you skip to sort of the last 10-15 minutes, I think we did some Newport talk at the end, talking about your team, where we see the threat. So yeah, go have a listen to that before Saturday. And then after the game, if you want to, come listen to us frustrated because we've just been battered by you, or listen to us talking about where we think we got the better of you in the game, hopefully, we'll have an episode out about that after the game as well. So give it a listen. And yeah, thank you very much for having me on. And yeah, as I said, good luck for the game on Saturday, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Of course, likewise. And I like that. I like that kind of nowhere in between. It's either really good performance or we've been thrashed. There's no middle ground, which I think is what we've all become accustomed to as League Two fans, or not League Two, but EFL fans. So yeah, that being said, weirdly a shorter episode for the first episode of the season, but I think we got quite a bit in there in terms of an opposition overlook, and then just chatting FA Cup and everything else in between. So, Charlie, like I mentioned, like huge thanks for coming on and having a chat about the game and whatnot on a Halloween night. Let's just hope it's not a terrible game or a terrifying one if you want to fix it with the holiday spirit. But that being said, like I mentioned, thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch this. If you have made it this far, please give us a like, subscribe, check out Charlie with all of his social medias that I'll probably put top line in the description with, in all honesty. There's all my links as well there. God, what are they? Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I even have a Facebook, I think.
Wow.
So that's all there if you fancy giving us a follow. These are going to become a lot more regular. We may even do a few review shows depending on if we get absolutely battered by Peterborough, then I probably will not be doing a review show because I'll be too upset. But that being said, really appreciate you all stopping by and listening to this. Hopefully a good result for Newport back at home at Rodney Parade. Would say under the lights, maybe under the lights towards the final 10 minutes or so, because the course gets dark at about 5 o'clock now. But anyway, thank you all for listening, as I mentioned, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you.